Polly's got an amazing training.
All
And so
right.
take it away, Polly.
Okay, so yay, plenty of time. All right, so last weekend, some of you might know that I got to go it was a retreat done by another team. We're sidelined, so we all roll up to Susan McCannon. So Lisa Voorhees, if you're kind of new and you're not sure who that is, she's just an executive national vice president with Arbonne, and she's always so kind to include us, which is really great, which is the culture of Arbonne. And y'all, I don't know if it was because it has been so long since we could all get together like that, or if it truly was as phenomenal as I'm going to say it was, but it was so great. It was one day. So it was, the night before we had a little, rah-rah party that was fun, and it was area managers and regional and national vice presidents. And the point was to celebrate the area managers, which I really loved. And so, that evening before the little kickoff, we made a little line, and as they came in, we were like cheering them on. And I just think that's so cool about the culture of Arbonne. And then the next day was training, a panel, and then we had breakout sessions in the afternoon. So it was like this packed full of value day. It was like a nutritional shake that had every single thing in it you would need. And I walked away feeling like I had just like gotten a steroid shot of Arbonne. It was so good. So I want to share with you guys, and I know Andrea has listened to a lot of the trainings already, and I do have them if you want them, just don't post them, okay? But I want to share with you sort of my top takeaways, and I have complete notes as well. And then the breakaway that I did, the breakaway training as well, was on something kind of specific that we'll train on another time. So I'm going to actually bring up my notes because I kind of consolidated what I was going to, and I'm going to close the chat. So if y'all have a question and I don't see it, just let me know. So I want to start out by talking about what Kathy Epperson, she's an executive national vice president, shared. And so I want you to imagine for a minute that you have been in Arbonne for, I don't know, 3 months or so. She said it was 77 days. And by day 77, she had shared the story, the Arbonne story, with 119 people. First off, that's pretty amazing, right? That she had shared the story with that many people. She was on a mission. But I want you to imagine. So first, let me ask you, does anybody know who Eunice Ray is? Some of you won't, but Eunice Ray is an executive national vice president with Arbonne. She's a little older. She's in her 70s, and she and her daughter both do Arbonne, and she actually has spoken on stage at GTC before, and she's just this incredible lady. So, all right, so just put that to the side for a minute. Yes, I love her too, Amber. So imagine again that you've been doing Arbonne for a while, and you've spoken to 119 people, and nobody has said yes to you about the business. It's day 77 in your business, and you're like, first off, would you have gotten that far, right? I don't know. I guess I would happen, because I've stayed. But on day 78, she went to a party and shared the Arbonne story with Eunice Ray and her daughter. So imagine if she had stopped on day 77, right? I mean, think about that for a minute, you guys. And so I want you to just think tonight a little bit about, we're going to talk about grit and determination, and we're going to talk about mindset. So maybe like not right away, but at the end of this, you can think about, like this will kind of be almost a call to action, but we'll come back to it. But I want you to stop and think about why you decided to do this business. You have to really clearly define it. Otherwise, if you don't clearly define it, and this is what Kathy Epperson said, if you don't clearly define it, your brain will try to convince you that it isn't worth it when times get tough, and times will get tough. We all know that because we've all just been through the last year and a half of crazy, crazy times in this world, right? So write it down, your why, put it everywhere. So this is going to be I'm going to come back to this, but this is going to be sort of your call to action from here. And so when we talk about grit and determination, y'all, grit is like a muscle. It's like something that you're going to have to exercise kind of over and over again. And I thought this was really interesting that grit is more essential than intelligence when it comes to success. So I am good to go. because I'm full of grit. I may not be super smart, but I got a whole lot of grit going on for me. So just decide, like, to have grit, you guys know, it's not even in Arbonne, if we're not talking about Arbonne, but just in life. I mean, for me, it's always been about like how I saw myself or how I wanted to see myself. And I always wanted to see myself as that person that had grit, that was just like, I'm going to make it. I want to be the last man standing, you know? And it's not about how many times you fail. You guys have heard this, but how quickly you get back up and you're just like, well, that didn't work. I always remember Andrea's story about making phone calls and leaning over, you know, because Atticus would be in the other room and going, well, that didn't work. Next, you know, it's just continuing to go forward and to put yourself outside of your comfort zone so that you can make a mistake and learn from it, because that is absolutely a necessity to being successful. You absolutely have to fail forward. It is not, you know, it is not always going to be rainbows and sunshine. We all know that. Okay. So I want to kind of give you, Missy Hyde, who is an executive national vice president, talked about mindset and belief. And this was my most favorite piece of the whole entire training. Debbie Neal was great, but Missy Hyde was incredible. She was, if y'all have ever been to GTC, like keynote speaker worthy. And so she talked about mindset. And so, you know, grit is part of your mindset or whatever. So I want you to think about all the things that we have been through this past year and a half. And it's not even that, you know, think about holidays coming up. Think about, you know, just life in general and how easy it is for us to kind of shift our focus. Like we come in, we're like, we've got this goal and we're doing, you know, we're going to do this and whatever. And then all the things are coming in, life happens. And so think about it kind of like an airplane, how an airplane gets off one little teeny degree. And at first it's no big deal. It's that slight edge all over again, right? But eventually that 1 degree, 1 degree, 1 degree, 1 degree, 1 degree, and you're just so far off course. And then it's really hard to get it back on course. So, you know, it's just so important to mind your mind. And you'll hear this over and over and over again. And so a lot of times I think what happens with our mindset is how we perceive ourselves and belief in ourselves. And so I'm going to use the analogy that she used because I loved it so much. And I want you to imagine that this phone call, everybody on this phone call, we have a deck of cards, okay? And you know, in a deck of cards, you've got aces and twos and kings and queens and jokers. There's no jokers on this call, so that's good. But I want you to imagine that I'm flipping through the cards, and Paige, I'm going to use you as like an example. Don't worry, you don't have to say anything, but I'm going to say to you, I'm going to hand you a card, Paige, and I'm going to hand you an ace. And I'm going to say, you know what, Paige, you're an ace. I see you as an ace. And by the way, everybody on this call is an ace, but I see you as an ace. I know you're an ace. But when you take that card from me, you see a 6 and you're like, I don't think I'm an ace, but you know, and in your mind, you're a 6, right? And that's called a limiting belief. And we're all doing that a lot of times. We're assigning a different value to ourselves than what we really have the opportunity to be or what we really are, right? And so what happens is then our sponsoring in Arbonne, or the people we go talk to, is in direct proportion to how we see ourselves. So if I see myself as a 6, it's going to be really hard for me to go talk to a 10 or an ace or a queen, right? I'm just be like, oh no, you know, but the piece of this that made the absolute most impact on me was this. Think about it. If I'm doing that, so one, and I know y'all have heard this a million times, but still, you know, when the student's ready, the teacher, or whatever, however that goes, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. So think about if you're going through and you're sorting people, you know, and we talk about that when we're like doing our Facebook list or whatever it is, but we're sorting them for the wrong reasons, we're sorting them based on how we see ourselves, not based on how this could be a fit for them. Because I see, and I have a prime example of this the other day. I went to visit my gastroenterologist. I told Andrew about this. I had spoken to her probably 6-7 years ago, at least, We had met at a coffee shop, you guys. I took the 1-shooter with me. I was shaking in my boots because I thought I was like a 6 or a 7 at the time. And I saw her as an ace, as somebody, I just didn't feel like I was on a level playing field with her. And so I did the 1-shooter. I don't know if y'all have ever done this. And I completely chickened out at the end of the first page. And I was just like, so, okay, well, let me just give you some samples, and she became a client, and she's been my preferred client all this time, you guys, all this time. And it's not that it took me 6 or 7 years to become an ace, but it took me, or to feel like an ace, but it took me 6 or 7 years to come back around and say, you know what? I never did. Yes, this has happened to everybody, right, Gabby? I never did this properly. And it bothered me all these years. And I thought to myself, no, I'm going back in and I'm going to, if, at all possible. And so I made an appointment and I went into her office last week and we sat down, and y'all, I was ready. I've got everything. I'm ready to go. I'm like building myself up. I'm an ace. It's all good. And I sat down and she said, I'm not really sure why we're here, like why we're going to talk. And I was like, and immediately I felt myself go back to that 6, like, but I was like, no, you're an ace. Like, this is my head, right? I'm going, no. You did this don't do it again. And it's not because she is a kind person. And I kept telling myself that she's kind, she's sweet, but she's like a busy doctor who is very straightforward. And so I decided I'm a busy entrepreneur who's very straightforward. And I just went in and I said, you know what, Carrie, I didn't do this the first time and I didn't do my job. And I just want to share this. And I said, it may not be for you. That's okay. Long story short, she's not going to jump in and do the business. It's not that. But it didn't even matter what happened. I'm going to be honest. What did happen was she said, I think my daughter-in-law might be somebody really good for this. And so that's great, right? And then we talked about more products and whatever. And I probably cemented even more her connection to Arbonne, because that's the other piece of this. It's not always just about like, we're going to jump in and have a business partner. But I walked out of there feeling like a freaking ace. I walked out of there like feeling like a boss, because I did it, And so think about people, think about whether it's a medical professional, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a whoever intimidates you, because that's how I looked at it. She intimidated me. Yo, we don't know. They might be in debt. They might be working super long hours. They might really need this, but we don't approach them because we think they're an ace and we're a 6. Okay. And here's the piece that jumped out to me the absolute most from this training. That is not humility. That is pride in reverse. In AA, and y'all all know I'm in recovery. And if you don't, well, truth bomb, I am 20 years sober. So thank God, by the grace of God. In AA, we have a saying, pour me a drink. And that's because if you get, thanks, Gabby, if you get in that mindset of pour me, that's pride in reverse. That's not humility. It's like the poem says, that poem that I love so much, like, basically, it's right up there. It says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented? Well, who are you not to be? And that's what that poem says. And that's this same exact thing, you guys. It is when we hold back and we don't share this incredible gift, like, oh my goodness, right? Oh my goodness, we're being selfish. It's selfishness. And when I flipped my mindset to that, like, it's been a while, but I need to be reminded of it. And I need to listen to all these kind of trainings to do that. When I flipped that mindset, you guys, it was like, holy moly. And when I also started recently thinking, I am just going to share from my heart. I'm going to share my vision, and I'm going to tell these people, like, basically shame on me. Like Rita used to say, shame on me if I don't, but I tell them my vision is bigger than my ego. And so if I don't share it, I'm not doing, honor to that. I'm not honoring that. And so it's not up to me to make that decision. Okay. So I thought that was really that point that she made about it's not humility to live less than you are, it's pride. Y'all, we all on this phone call have everything it takes. And so it's about this, it's about digging deep and finding that grit, right? And about becoming the ace that you are, because you are, you are an ace. Okay. The other thing that she said that made an impact on me is, why do we put a timeline on this? Why do we do that? Why in Arbonne do we think we have the right to walk away or quit because, oh, it didn't work out like I thought it was going to, does anything, like, let's imagine you were trying to have a baby and you decided, like, I remember when we were, I had Robert J, and Robert and I had said, okay, we're going to have our kids 3 years apart. Because the best laid plans, we're going to have them 3 years apart. Well, guess what? Robert was about a year old, and I was like, whoop, that didn't work. And I called Robert, he was out of town, and I said, I'm pregnant. Like, they're only going to be 2 years apart. But what if anything in life, your expectations, we set out this sort of timeline, and especially in this business, a lot of times we do that and we think, well, it just didn't work. The timeline didn't work out. My expectation didn't work out. So I'm just going to quit. Well, no, that's not how life works. And it's the same in this, so, I think about, people that have been married like 50 years or something. We're about to celebrate 29, which is crazy, right? And I think about that, and I think, I'm sure that it hasn't always, y'all all on this call, I don't know if everyone's looking to see, but not everybody is maybe married, but even if you've been in a relationship for a long time, or even with your kids, it's that whole thing about, they used to tell us, it's like you have a baby and you're rocking your baby. It's all about commitment. You're not going to look at your baby and go, well, we'll see how it goes. As long as you don't spit up on me too much, or as long as you don't cry too much, I'll think about keeping you, so it's kind of the same in this. So I want you to think about this today, that you can start today to be an ace, even if you don't feel like it. You can start to be someone who speaks with authority and conviction. Stop waiting to feel it before you act, you guys, because being an ace is 100% a choice, just like in that doctor's office. When she said, I'm not really sure why we're meeting. Meanwhile, I had set up the meeting and I thought I was clear, and I immediately felt that old feeling of being a 6. But I was like, no, I'm an ace. I'm choosing to be that ace. I'm choosing to make a difference, in people's lives. We're all here for a reason. We got something out of it. So why are we afraid to share that, to go share that? So being an ace is 100% a choice. It's a choice to be willing to put the work in, to start being a new person, and to take on a new identity. And so you get to decide that, So a couple other things I want to share. So definitely, it does, all come back to, so we always talk about those 4 things that we believe in, that we have to have belief in the products. We all have that. Belief in the company. Most of the time we have that. Belief in this industry, in this profession, and then belief in ourselves. So we were just talking about belief in ourselves, but I also want to ask you if you do believe that Arbonne has the best opportunity, the best compensation plan, the best products, all those things. And if you don't, then definitely we need to work on that and get you something to listen to or read to mind your mind. But if so, are you convinced that Arbonne is the vehicle? And when you speak, do you speak with enthusiasm and energy? And like she said, you don't have to be a spaz. Speaking with energy and enthusiasm doesn't mean you have to be like, like that. Not at all. But if you're excited, if you're genuine and you're speaking with enthusiasm, you know what? Then, it's their people that you're talking to, it's going to kind of give them confidence to override their doubts and their fears, because trust me, everybody does. And here's what's really cool when you decide to become an ace, is what happens is everybody in your deck of cards, in your market, in your sphere, becomes available for you to ask. So actually living as an ace is actually your greatest opportunity. And I want you to think like this. It's your greatest opportunity to serve as many people as possible, because nobody gets missed or discounted. Because when we don't share with everybody out there because of how we feel about ourselves, then gosh, people get missed and discounted. And isn't that a shame? So I just really, that was my favorite thing. And that's what I wanted to share. I know it's almost time. There were a couple of other things. I want to go back to the very beginning. And I want to share, I think there was one other thing I wanted to share with you guys. Hang on just a second. Oh, the last thing I wanted to share with you guys, and then back to our call to action, and we should be wrapped up by 8 unless you guys have questions, is here's the other piece of this. If you are right now a team of 1, okay, or 2, or 4, or 6, or however many, don't think that that means you have to wait on a team to go or to be at a certain, no, you just go. So Jacqueline Zart was on the panel, and she's actually not, I didn't realize this, but she's not in their line either, but she was also an add-on like me to the retreat. And she said, wait on no one. You are the leader of your team. Don't wait on anybody to create an event, to do a meeting. It's up to you. You be the meeting if there is no meeting, okay? She said, don't wait on them to lift the lid. Go. And I wrote G-O-O-O-O-O. She just said G-O. She didn't say go, but I wrote G-O-O-O-O-O because I was like, go, like jump before the net appears. Stop waiting on people. Just decide, people are going to show up because they're excited to be a part of what you're doing. So if you're excited, they will be excited. And you guys, I guess I want to close with saying this. I feel it. I know that this has been a tough year and a half. It has, of course, for everyone, but we have an opportunity with Arbonne. We really do, to bring so much light and joy into people's lives. I mean, even if it's just for the community and for this kind of stuff right here, for positive, whatever mindset, even if it's just that, there is a place for absolutely everyone to be a part, even if that's all they want. Sometimes you could be talking to somebody and you might see, maybe they might not, want to go to the top. That's okay. Most people don't. Most people just need a few extra $100 a month, you guys. That's it. And they would be so happy to be a part of our community just to do that. So I want you to think about that. And then I'm going to back up to the call to action, which is maybe later on tonight, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, maybe over Thanksgiving. I want you to stop and think why you decided to do this business. I want you to clearly define it. Okay. I want you to write it down. I want you to put it everywhere. And when I say clearly define it, even if you need to get with your sponsor or a friend or a sideline and say, I'm not really sure if this, and one of the things that Jacqueline said, and I thought this is so, so true. She said, if you're just doing this to help other people get healthy, it's not enough. And it's not. I'm doing it for that reason, but there's so much more, so much more. And you guys, for me personally, I do this because of how it makes me feel about myself. That is really, when I get down to the bottom line, that's what it is. I love that I feel good about who I am. And that's something that I needed. And so it can be all kinds of things. Okay. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. There was so much more. I'm happy to share the notes. I'm happy to share the recordings. And yes, I feel on fire. Thank you, Gabby. I feel full and ready to rock. And I hope you guys do too. And you know what? Gosh, I can't tell you, but yeah. So actually in the recordings, Debbie Neal was our virtual keynote speaker, and she was phenomenal. And it was a little more specific to Arbonne. And one of the things that she said was, she loves when people say, well, I mean, I do believe very much in meant to be and a calling and prayer and all those things, but we still have to row the boat. So, sometimes it's that whole thing about, save me, God save me. And God sent a rowboat and he sent a helicopter and he sent all that. So sometimes it's like, get in and go, right? because this is the vehicle that he sent. So, all right, you guys, that is it. I will share with everyone, and unless you have questions, I hope that was helpful.
That was amazing. Thank you. And everyone have a happy Thanksgiving this week.
Are there going to be more Black Friday things? Do we know, or?
There usually is. Like, I know that they'll usually like discount the holiday line or do something that day. So be looking for that and be prepared. Like on that Friday, if you want to like just reach out to your, your preferred clients. And then also next week, we're going to go ahead and have the call on Monday and not on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
So just to give everyone a chance to travel back and get back safely from where they're going and coming and going to. So we'll do this same time, just on Monday night after Thanksgiving. So I hope y'all have an amazing time with your family and just be safe and warm, apparently.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.